Hey guys, Kaylin at Mill Farm. My daughter Kat is still with me. We're making dandelion jelly to go with the violet jelly we made earlier. It's basically the exact same thing. This one is a little more tedious, so if you have children that you can put to work doing this, I would most definitely do so. This was a quart jar of blossoms, but as they sit there and wilt, they start to shrink, and we would have never got it full if we kept going and going and going, dealing with the shrinkage, but it was a quart. The reason the dandelion jelly is a little more tedious is because unlike the violet jelly, you have to get all that green off. And honestly, the easiest way we find to do it is to just grab the little petals out, leaving the green behind. And you just pull the fluffy yellow and white petals out and go all the way around. And then normally you can kind of just grab in the middle to get the last little bit. If you leave the green, it will be really bitter and gross, so you want to make sure you get that off. When we pick them, we make sure we leave some for the bees. Our rule is if a bee is on the flower, we leave it alone, and we try to spread out to leave plenty around because it is, for the pollinators and everything. Just like with the violets, make sure you're using flowers that have not been sprayed. You don't want any of those chemicals in your food you're getting ready to do. Just like I did with the violets, I'm going to turn it over to her and make her do the work. But there's her quart of petals. And there's a few, go ahead. There's a few little pieces of green in there. Just a couple won't hurt anything, but you want to get the most of it out of there to keep the bitterness out. And again, we're using a half-gallon jar to make our tea. Dandelion jelly tastes kind of like honey to me. The violet jelly tastes kind of like grape Jolly Ranchers. You can turn around if you need to use the handle. I do. And as you can see, these clump together more than the violets do, which is why, like I said, it didn't look like a quart jar, but it most definitely was a quart. See if you can scrape some of that out. It most definitely was a quart of blossoms as we were going. The other thing about dandelions is this morning they weren't open. You have to kind of wait till they warm up for the day. Okay, that's good enough. So there's her dandelion petals in her jar. I'm gonna move her boiling water over for her so she doesn't get burnt. And just like with the violet, she's going to put 4 cups in. And for the way the cups are filling up, I'm actually going to have her do 5 scoops because each one is about only 3/4 of a cup full. She's going to mush that around in there, and just like with the violet jelly, this will sit and steep overnight, and then tomorrow we'll start doing the process that actually turns it into jelly using the dandelion tea out of it. Okay, just like when we made the violet jelly, the dandelion petals have steeped all night long, and we're ready to strain them, and she's going to dump them into the colander that's lined with a paper towel and a coffee filter. You can actually use jelly cloth for this if you want. I'm cheap and kind of lazy, and so I'm just going to use paper towels and coffee filters. Okay, and we'll let that drain down into it. This one does not have the cool color change like the violet jelly does, but we're gonna get 4 cups of liquid after we let this strain, and then we'll get to boiling it. Okay, our dandelion liquid is at a full boil. When she stirs it, you can see the bubbles keep on coming. She's going to add a tablespoon of the lemon juice. This is basically the same recipe as the violet jelly. No cool color change there. She's going to stir that in. And then she's going to add her pectin. We're still using the Sure Gel pectin, but again, I put it in a bowl. She finds it easier to dump it that way. She's going to dump that in and get it stirred. Get it good and dissolved. I'm going to let that boil a little bit while I get the sugar measured out. Okay, we got our sugar measured out. Just like with the violet jelly, it's 5 cups of sugar to go with the 4 cups of liquid. And she's going to dump that in and get it stirred and dissolved. And I know it always looks like a bunch of sugar, but I find some of the flour jellies hard to set up without enough sugar. While she's getting that dissolved, I'm going to get all my lids and jars together. The dandelion is even harder than the violet to get to set up, in my opinion. So even though the recipes usually call for 1 minute of boiling once you add the sugar, I try to let it go a little longer, at least 2, just till I start to get it sheeting off the spoon the way it's supposed to as it's setting. And right before I get ready to bottle this one, I'll show you what I mean about how it sheets off the spoon. Okay, so it's boiled for quite a while. I'm going to try to show you what I mean by sheeting. I can tell it's ready, but I don't think it's actually going to sheet off the spoon the right way. What I mean by sheeting is you take a metal spoon and stick it down in there, and when you lift it up, you saw how quick the drops came off. When it's jellied, it'll actually come off kind of more in a sheet together. But like you can see that this one's already starting to solidify, so I'm afraid if I wait too much longer, I'm going to overdo my jelly. But I mean, see how the double drops, when it's sheeting, and I may just be using the wrong spoon right now, but they'll kind of come off together instead of single drops, but I can already see that it's starting to set up. So I'm going to turn it off, pull it off the heat a little bit, let it start cooling off a little bit so that I can skim the bubbles. And just like with the violet, I didn't add butter to this. Some people add butter early on so that it cuts down on the bubbles, but I'm not going to do that just in case I have to use this as syrup for mixed drinks or pancakes or ice cream or something else. I don't want the weird film that I sometimes get with butter in that. Okay, and just like with the violet jelly, my jars have already been boiled. They're ready to go. I am, however, using the new ball lids, and the ball lids do not have to be boiled in order to use them. I did, however, wash them with hot soapy water, and now they're just ready to go. Okay, and so just like with the violet jelly, I'm ladling straight into my jars. And like I said with the violet jelly, some people will do what's called open kettle method, where you just ladle into hot jars the hot jelly and then let it seal itself. I don't do that because I do sell these to other people, and so I have to hot water bath them. And I don't know if I've said it yet, but this ends up kind of tasting like a honey. The lemon juice does give it a little bit of a tang that honey doesn't normally have, but it's still good. And make sure you leave your head space so that when you process them, there's room for it to seal and do the vacuum. Ouch. And I think think I'm probably actually don't have enough jars for this. I'm not positive. Hold on. Oh, I might actually have exactly enough. That one will end up being a house jar. And just like with the other ones, I use white vinegar just on a clean paper towel to go around the rims so that I get a good seal when I put my lids on. And the jars are hot once you add that. Well, they were hot anyways, but after you add this, they're really good and hot. Okay, so the new ball lids just go straight on. I don't love the ball lids quite as much as the old ball lids, but it is what it is. It doesn't seem like the seal is as thick as it was. Oh shoot, I'm too short. Give me a second. Perfect. I had 2 of the ones still in the boiling water. This batch actually made more than I expected, despite starting with the exact same amount of everything that I did with the violet jelly. And I reuse my rings unless I sell them. If I sell something, I sell it with the ring on. But if it stays here for home use, I just pop our rings off to store them. And that lets me cut down on some costs with that. And just like with the violet jelly, you're just finger tightening these. You don't want to over tighten them because they need to be able to let some of the air escape when you do the hot water bath. And now that's that. All that's left for me to do is to heat up the water bath canner, and then I'll water bath them. I'll make that a separate video just to show you guys how I do that. But that's it. That's my dandelion jelly. It'll start to set up after it's been canned and cooled and all that good stuff. But thanks for stopping by, guys.